Hi guys, welcome to my channel Meditations with NK. What I'm going to be showing you guys today is this add-on that I'm working on. I'm hoping that you guys like it, and if you do like it, I am planning on maybe selling it for like $5 or maybe even $2.50 to be honest with you. But essentially, this is a product animator add-on that I'm working on. Let me just show you guys all the different animations. It's a product animated thing for motion graphic shorts, or if you're doing product presentation, right? These are the animations that I tend to use when I'm working with those kind of things, right? So yeah, I'll start with Turntable, and then it's going to be a four-part series, and then I'll show you guys hover next, pulse it, and then bounce intro right after that. But for now, I'll just focus on turntable on this video so that it's not too long because I do tend to rant and just get lost in it. But yeah, so essentially what the add-on does, if I show you guys, if you go to product animator over here, right, at the moment it is rotating the object on the z-axis, right? Turntable z-axis. I can switch this off and rotate it on the y-axis, switch it off, turn it on the x-axis, right? I can combine axes, so now it's rotating on two axes. I can combine three, now it's rotating on all three axes, right? I can just have it on that one, or whatever combination you prefer, right? Another thing I do need to tell you guys about this add-on is that when you want to minimize this view, right? If you're working on one object and you have all of these on, right, and it can get overwhelming at some point. What I would suggest you do is just minimize, right? Because if you click on any of these, it's going to reset the values. So let me just show you what I mean by it's going to reset the values. I'm just going to hide this for now. But if you have the speed of 5, right, or maybe you have a very specific speed that you want for whatever reason, and the way the way your mesh is interacting with the objects in the scene. So maybe you have like 3.56, right? 3.56, and then if you click on this, it's going to completely reset these values, right? If you click on it, it erases it, and if I bring it back, it's at 1, right? And you might not be able to remember that it was a 3.56. Was it a 3.56? I can't even remember. But you might not remember that whatever value you had originally. So if you want to minimize it, try and not make the mistake of clicking on the Z, because it's going to reset the values for you, right? The same can be said about this. The same can be said about this, right? Another thing you can do is when you're applying this effect, you can select two objects and do that. That applies the effect on both objects simultaneously, right? And as long as you have both objects selected, if you decide to do this, it'll change basically the speed on both objects, right? Or so I thought, but that's fine. That's fine. I think it might even be more likely to cause issues if you do it that way. If it was both objects and then you change it to one, right? Like, so it's fine. Um, yeah, there you go. Oh, should I enable it? No, 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 no. I think this is fine. I think this is perfectly fine. And then another thing is, let's just turn this off and turn this off, right? What you can do is, let's say if I duplicate this on the z-axis, -3, right? If I apply the z-axis on this, let's say this is an object with a label on it, or it's a bottle with with a cap, right? So let's say um, let's just go all the way back here. Let's switch this off. So let's say this is bottle cap. This is a bottle cap, right? Or whatever, or it's a lead. Scale it up a bit, right? So let's say this is what you have. I have allowed it so that whenever you change this, right? If this is a parent, control P, oi, control P, object. Okay, cool. So I've parented the lead with the box itself, right? So now what you do is, if you're rotating the box, the lead is also going to rotate, right? So you can you can see the that indication that Blender has for when objects are parented to something. So now when this rotates, this is also rotating. So if you have multiple objects that are connected to each other, like a bottle with a cap, or it's a box with a lid, um, animating this is also going to animate that, right? Cool. You can do that, and then that's going to animate with it. Great, right? That was just an example. Now another thing you can do with this add-on, right, is this is editing the transforms of this object, right? Um, but then, if what if I want to transform the vertices specifically, right? And in what instance would you want to do that? Well, for example, if I create, right, so let's generate an array modifier, right? I'm gonna show you guys something that's pretty cool, or something that I think is pretty cool, right? And I give it a radius of like 4.5 maybe. Okay, right? So let's say I add this effect on it, right? This happens. And I think you would expect that to happen, right? So it's an array of objects, but I'm rotating them on the origin point like this. That makes sense. But what if I wanted each individual, as this animation is running, what if I wanted each individual box to also be rotating on the z-axis on its or based on its own origin, right? So what you can do with that is you can click animate individual parts. If you click on animate individual parts and you click enable, right, just move it below that. There you go, right? So now the objects are rotating individually on their own axis, right? And you can increase the speed to 5 to make it a little bit more obvious. There you go. So as they are rotating around here, they're also rotating on their own axis, on the on axis, whatever. Um, there you go. You can also do this. So this starts creating some pretty sick effects. In fact, just to show you how sick this is, let me show you something. At 20, look at that. Okay, that's moving a little too fast. So let's change the speed to 1, or maybe even 2. 2 is fine. It starts creating this cool motion graphic effects, right? So if this was like maybe 40, I think that's so cool. All right, so you can do that now. Um, there you have it. And then let's say, right, let's go back, and I want it to rotate like that. There you go. And doesn't have to do that. There, I mean, like I'm sure you can do some pretty unique and pretty cool stuff with the amount of controls you have over this thing, right? You can have it as the speed of 2, right? And then what you can also do is you can compound, you can layer the the modifiers, right? So you have this modifier, and then what I'm going to do is, sorry, let me just turn this off, right? So you have this effect going on. I can add another turntable modifier, right, which is going to affect the vertices of the objects. So let me add that, and now you have this thing going on, right? And so what if you do like 500? Look at that. Like you can do some pretty cool stuff with this, I think, right? Like this is actually properly insane. Like one, look at that. All right, let's have it at 2, and then let's have this at let's have this at 2 as well. Okay, look at that. That's insane. And then I mean, depending on what you want to do with this, I mean, you can move this above it, and it's just pretty much going to do exactly the same thing that one of them is doing. So let me just make sure it's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Yeah, if you remove that, it was just increasing the speed at which things were turning. Right? Um, let's just have this at 100 again. Okay. Right. So there you go. And then if I go to turntable, if I want to rotate the objects now outside of the vertices, I want to rotate the whole object. Um, let's see. What if, actually, no, I want to just do this so that it looks like, no, 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 no. What axis? The x-axis. So X, Y, Z, X. I mean, I'm gonna work on creating a thing where it shows you which axis you're working on and what you're editing. But essentially, what I want this to do, I want them to be rolling inwards towards the origin, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make them do that on the, yeah, there we go. This effect. That's so cool, right? And that's with the array modifier. And then what if I change the central axis? There you have it, x-axis. That's just how the circle is being created. If you want to do it with an arc, you want to do it full, you can decide like 365 is would be a full circle, right? Or 360 would be a full circle. If you do 90 degrees, just does that, right? But let's say 360. And then what you can also do is, this is on a circle, right? What if you do a line, right? A line, I think I need it to be a hell of a lot less. 7, let's do 7, right? And you can also change the offset as well, right? So the offset, change it a little bit. There you go. All right, so it looks like the kind of like tires rolling in a way. I guess you could like animate tires like this. Um, but then what if I had an idea and I completely forgot what I wanted to do now. But you can do a lot of cool things basically with this, right? So let me animate it on two axes. Look at that. And then let's say while it's doing this, it rotates on the x-axis as well with two. All right, and let's just zero this out. Sorry, I zeroed out the z-axis. I wanted to zero out the x-axis. There you go. Maybe 2 0. You know. And then what you can also do is, as opposed to that, maybe you want to rotate it like that. There you go. Right? Or you can just swap these two around, and then you have this crazy effect again. And then what you can do is, where's the array? There you go. Let's do 100 again. No, let's do 500. And then let's change the offset a bit, because the offset is really making them go too far. So let's do this. There you go. Because the offset will determine how far out these things go when they're going crazy. So if this is linear, right? So let's do circular. The offset again. Oi. Oh yeah, the radius in this instance, because it's now circular. So the radius will then determine how far out these things go. I don't know. I just think these effects are so cool. So let me know if you guys like it. Let me not make this too long-winded. It's already 15 minutes and I'm just talking about one add-on, right? It's because I'm also just experimenting with a whole bunch of things. Apologies if it's too long, but if you made it this far, please like, subscribe, share, comment in the bottom below if you guys would be interested in me getting this product out, like getting the add-on out, for people to download and play around with. And stay tuned for the next episode where I'm going to be explaining the hover, the pulsate, and the bounce intro. Yeah, thank you.